अपने एम्प्लॉयज़ को तनख्वाहें भी नहीं दे सके। बार बार यकीन दहानी तो हमें कराई गई है, लेकिन अमली तौर पर हमें इंतजार है, देखते हैं क्या होता है।
Balochistan has been on the brink for a while now, and the rest of Pakistan is getting there. The country is in dire straits. It has just 3 weeks' worth of cash left. Inflation is at a 48-year high. Thousands of containers are held up at ports. Banks are refusing payments. Pakistan is in a shambles. A delegation from the International IMF has rushed to the country. A bailout now looks certain. But even that is no guarantee of Pakistan's survival. The country is crumbling. It is facing what economists call a balance of payment crisis, which means Pakistan does not have any money left to pay for essentials. They can only buy 2,000 luxury cars, whether or not they have the fuel to drive them. Jokes apart, Pakistan is going the Sri Lanka way. The earnings are low, the expenses are way too high, plus there is a giant burden of debt. So it's struggling to sustain itself. It needs a bailout. And here's why that bailout will not be enough. Look at Pakistan's balance sheets. Its finances are rotten to the core. This is bailout number 23 for Pakistan, the 23rd bailout. Since 1958, they've gone to the IMF 23 times. That is the most by any country in this period. 23 bailouts. Even before the current crisis hit, Pakistan was on an IMF bailout program. It got a loan worth $6.5 billion in 2019. Out of this money, $6.5 billion, Pakistan has used up $3.9 billion. Along the way, the IMF stalled the program. Reason? The International Monetary Fund wanted Pakistan to make some sweeping changes. Pakistan did not comply, but now it has no choice. It will have to swallow the bitter pill. And what were these demands? Broadly, the IMF wanted Islamabad to do two things. Number one, let the market decide what the Pakistani rupee is worth. And number two, reduce expenses. It was as simple as that. But Pakistan rejected these demands. It wanted to dictate terms to the IMF. Can a country surviving on dole dictate terms? As they say, beggars cannot be choosers. Now, reality is biting Pakistan. This is collective failure from the Bhutto Zardaris to the Sharifs to Imran Khan. The political class has repeatedly failed the people, and the military generals have only filled their own coffers. Listen to this. Defense makes up 25% of Pakistan's budget. 25%. So Pakistan is poor, but its army is rich. Its military runs about 50 commercial entities. Their annual income is well over $1.5 billion. Even during such a grave economic crisis, the military in Pakistan is well cushioned. Last year, the government set a revenue target of around $27 billion. And what was their spending plan? 52% of this money would go to servicing the debt, to pay back the lenders. 33% was set aside for defense. This included spending on pensions. So to recap, 52% goes to lenders, 33% goes to the army. That's 85% of the total revenues. What's left for the people of Pakistan? A meager 15%. How can a country sustain with this kind of money? It cannot, which is why it is sinking. And the IMF agrees. Reports say it wants the military to cut its budget now. In fact, that's one of the new conditions they've imposed to revive the bailout, cut the spending. But like I've been saying, it will not be enough. Pakistan will get just $1.1 billion from the IMF. That's it, $1.1 billion. They need more cash. They need $3 billion to meet external debt obligations. Another $5 billion to fix the current account deficit, which is the gap between the value of imports and exports. A total of $9 to $10 billion is needed to stabilize the Pakistani rupee. Where do you think all of this money will come from? The IMF or the Chinese? Pakistan is stuck between a rock and a hard place. It has no easy choices. Actually, it does. Shut down the terror factories. But it's a choice they don't even want to consider. So it doesn't really matter. Pakistan's total external debt is now well over $130 billion. It owes about $30 billion to China alone. I've said this in the past. Pakistan is a military with a country. Perhaps it's time for the military to foot some of these bills.